Okay, I was going to share with you my inspirational story for today, but I just didn't find one that I wanted to use with you today. So I ended up thinking about words of encouragement, and so that is where I'm going to spring from today because what I'm sharing with you today is something that is going to challenge you. It's going to challenge your effort, it's going to challenge what you've already done as it relates to your publishing efforts and so on and so forth. But it's all good. So perhaps you by now have actually published your book, sales are coming in, and maybe you've reached a point where the sales have kind of dropped off a little bit, slowed down, and you are possibly looking for other avenues or other funnels in which you could actually continue adding profits to what you've already done. So, my encouraging word for you today is coming out of Romans 8 and 28, and it reads, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose." You have been called to write a book, and you've written a book, and I just want to say to you, don't lose heart just because the sales have kind of are seemingly coming to a halt. Don't lose heart. And what I'm going to share with you today is, and I want you to prepare yourself today to get ready to go to the next level or to consider something different to continue the process of success which God has placed you on. So I want to welcome you to Clayton Communications and Publishing, our Facebook Thursday online newsletter for first time book publishers, where we turn your stories into books. And I am your host, Coach Blondie. And I may be a little bit challenged today with my voice. I earlier when I was just kind of talking a little bit, I'm starting to sound a little froggy. So if I do start to sound froggy, I probably need to take a drink of water. Did you know that the audiobook market is quickly gaining ground in the market? Well, if you didn't know, then I'm going to share that with you today because what happens and what I discovered when I was wanting to talk about this subject because I have talked about this a in well, I actually have written about this and actually have practiced this, some of what I'm going to teach you today. But the market, the audiobook market, it, it's it's a three point. It is expected to go from $3.3 billion to $15 billion in the year 2027. And so, what that tells me is that we need to get on board as self-published authors, and the that you've already invested your money to do a physical book, and now here's an opportunity for you to do something even more to add another income stream, another funnel. So now I find that the nonfiction books they do well in this market, in the audio book market. So even better if that author reads that book then I personally would like to see more authors reading their work, even if they are not professionals, because it just kind of pulls you in and just really makes you feel like that you know that you got that author at a different level. So even if you're not ready to jump into that market right now. Prayerfully, some of what I'm going to share with you will be a help for you, and that you won't wait too long before you decide to do something. So, what's involved in creating an audio book? Well, first of all, you need to have a finished manuscript, which you already have because you've actually published your book. And then you can decide whether you want to narrate it yourself or you want to have someone else to do it for you. Of course, those are choices that you make. And you have already done a book, so it's not like you've never had the experience. The only thing is you're going to be doing it at a different level. And my suggestions would be that try listening to a few audiobooks and just kind of get a feel for what the reader is doing. And of course, you doing it may be somewhat different. And try to find those that are actually read by the author, which might be few and far between, because it is a process and it is can be time consuming. And most of the time, the authors maybe aren't trained to do that, or they just don't want to do that. So now, before you say no way, Blondie, you might want to try it. Just kind of play around with it. Just sit down at your computer, read a chapter, play it back, listen to it, and just see how it feels, and what do you think? What do you think about that you just did when you did that? So, and also you can read how-to articles, how to create a an audiobook. There are plenty of videos out there. You just have to find the article or the video that resonates with you. Remember, this is a market that is at the point of explosion. So you want to, you have an opportunity now. Here it is 2023. So you got like about 4 years before 2027. Okay. Well, and the reason for the audiobooks is, do you know there's a lot of people that do not like to read? I mean, I have come across in my profession people who not only don't like to read, but they're professionals and they should be readers and they don't like to read, and they will quickly tell you that. So, you know, but so now there's a different another market out there. Everybody's not a reader, so now you're going to pick up those who are audio listeners, and they would probably listen to an audio faster than because remember YouTube is more audio and visual, and so a lot of people tend to gravitate to that. So you can now be in that same market. So maybe you're not exactly convinced yet and that you want to tackle this, and that's okay because the information is new coming at you, but at least ponder it, give some thought to it. When you as you're giving some thought to it, let me just say this is that let's look at why audiobooks have gained such popularity. It's because you can listen while you are doing something else, and most people today are about multitasking, and so they want to be able to do this and benefit from that, and so on and so forth. I don't know about you, but I've tried it. Every time I go to the gym, I plug in some kind of audio, whether it's a book or something that I want to learn, and I'm able to get done with my workout. Other than that, my workouts can be kind of, I feel, boring. Okay. People are learning all sorts of things from audio, and why not yours? Why not your audio that they can learn those things from, as well as enjoying the pleasure of, if they choose to, completing a book. Now, you once you create an audio, now you have a package that you can now market. And if you notice, a lot of the authors, the more visible authors, tend to make not only just the hardcover or the physical book, but they also make audio. And they have various other means, but audio is also a part of that. And that means that you can now put a higher price on that package because you've got the audio and you got the physical book. Are you convinced yet? Well, let's look back to how you can get it done. We talked about you need to have a manuscript and then learning to narrate yourself, but and you have a choice to either narrate it yourself or to have somebody else do it for you. And I shared how I personally prefer to be able to find more authors that actually narrate their own books. Yes, it is time consuming. There's no doubt about it. But when you first did your first book, that was time consuming. It took me 5 years to actually complete my first book. So that was time consuming. I don't think it's going to take 5 years for you to create an audio. Okay. And how do you get it done? There's ways that you can get it done if you have a friend who has a studio, because today you have a lot of younger people that have studios because they make music and beats and so on and so forth. So you might be able to look in your local community, find a studio that has a good price, and then work with it. And of course, if you're going to do that, then of course you want to have set up a schedule and don't try to do it all at one time. And you might want to do it, and then of course they may have access to editing, and so that will be a win-win situation altogether. And you also, as I suggested earlier, you might want to start listening to other people's audios and see what are they doing with their audios, how are they setting their books up, and so forth. And I know you can go on Amazon and listen to audio as well as read some of the first chapter or the first chapter of a book. Or if that doesn't bring your chime, you can then turn around and give hire somebody to turn your content into a book. Some books, some content probably will do better if it is in an audio format. Okay, so that's something to think about as you go, especially the motivational stuff is can sometimes work better when it's in an audio format as opposed to all the time in a written format. So where do you find these people that can give you this kind of help? Well, my favorite place is Fiverr.com. And Fiverr has all types of people there that can do various things. You just have to ask questions. So if you don't know what questions to ask, the first thing that you should do is do a Google search and see what questions do I ask if I want to have someone to create an audiobook for me. And then that way you know what you're getting and you get what you are paying for. Another resource that I discovered is authorsrepublic.com, and then I understand there's an app called speechify.com. So these are things that you can try and see. And of course, if you're going to go to Fiverr or some of the others, you can have them do like a chapter from your book and see what you think, or a portion from your book and see what how did it come out. So you have the speechify.com, which is a text to speech. And of course, just like anything else, it's effort. It may take some homework, some research, but you had to do all of that in the beginning when you actually were preparing to do your first book. So don't quit. This is not the time to quit. This is the time to move forward. I also found that there are video that can help you to be able to create your first audiobook. So just get yourself involved. Don't give up on the idea because it is something that is viable and it can help to kickstart your sales funnel, your funnel even more so. And don't let the effort scare you off. Okay, it's too easy to be scared off, but you've come this far, so there is no need. You are fearless. So don't be scared off because the end far outweighs the effort that you might put in because this market is growing. This market has a growth. It's in a growth pattern, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop because remember, people like to multitask, and whatever they can learn on the side or learn as a part of their multitasking that it has great value for them. So preferably I have given you something to think about and maybe even to act on. That's all I have for you today. And if this information has been helpful to you, then please like and share. And if you have any additional questions that you would like to know more about, this is one resource that might be able to help you to be able to find answers. And so that might be something you want to invest in. So until next time, Coach Blondie, keeping the faith, signing off.